Immersed Robot.
Hello everyone, welcome to Immersed Robot, and I'm currently flying around Bora Bora in Microsoft Flight Simulator using the Sim Update 5. And I just wanted to do a quick update from my point of view as well on my settings now. I've spent a couple of days tweaking them, and I'm basically running the game now pretty well. It's a little bit differently to how I did it in the last video. I am running the Valve Index in at 90 Hz and locking frame rate at 45 FPS now. Actually, let me get FPS VR up and running just so we can see some details on this. Okay, so there we are. We've got FPS VR running at the bottom of the screen now. You should be able to see that okay. And so I've locked frame rate in the throttling behavior on Steam VR at 45 FPS while running at 90 Hz in the Valve Index. And overall, I'm finding that this gives me the best overall experience because I'm able to sort of raise settings, in-game graphical settings and super sampling. You can see there as well on FPS VR overlay, the Steam VR super sampling I've put up to 150% now, and this is different to how it was in my last video that was running at 100%. And the reason for that is because I can afford to go up that extra super sampling level while also keeping super sampling in game at 85%. Now, the reason I've done it that way is because I've done quite a bit of tweaking for the past couple of days, and this tends to give me the best sort of image to performance ratio while also giving me a little bit of flexibility in game. Part of the problem, if you change Steam VR super sampling, then you have to restart the game for that to take effect, whereas if you alter in-game super sampling, then you can do that on the fly. You can just do it as and when and it will take effect immediately. So that's really why I've done it this way around, because it gives me the versatility to change things up and down quite significantly depending on the area in which I'm flying. And it's one of the frustrations with this game, I suppose, because you can set a baseline flying around a city or something like that, which are the most demanding areas in this game really, something like London or Manhattan. Some of those areas, they're very demanding, so you can set a baseline, get the game running great there, and it's pretty much going to run great everywhere. The downside of that is that when you're somewhere like this where you can ramp up settings, it's always at the back of your mind. You think, maybe I should just change a few more settings and get things looking a little bit better here because I know it's a lower demand area and, I can afford a little bit of extra graphical fidelity at the cost of some frame rate because it's not required. So what I'm tending to do is run at a locked frame rate anyway, no matter where I am now, but change a few in-game settings depending on if I want to fly low over a city or something like that. And by doing it this way, it affords me that versatility. But this looks great to me, and I've got a nice, sharp, clear image in the Valve Index, and it's running really smoothly. Now, you'll remember at the end of the last video I was running at a native 80 frames per second 80 Hz in the Valve Index, and that was great, but I did find that in order to get that running in areas like this, I did have to sort of take some cuts on graphical fidelity, and I didn't really want to do that. And honestly, this game just runs so well in reprojection that it doesn't really bother me running in constant reprojection. It does allow me to bump up the clarity in those areas as well. So that's really why I'm running it this way. I have increased a little bit of in-game settings. So let me just go into the in-game menu now and we'll have a quick look at my in-game graphical settings. This is still very much a work in progress. So you can see here I've got the render scaling at 85. I can increase that or decrease that depending on the area that I'm going in. But 85 seems to give me a good balance with Steam VR super sampling at 150. I can go down to 80 or 75 and you still get a relatively sharp image anyway. And what I'm working with here on the rest of the graphical settings is really the default graphical settings in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then just a few things raised up. So you can see I've got the terrain vector data on ultra, the buildings on high, grass and bushes on low, trees on medium. I've also got the terrain level of detail and object level of detail set on 100. I could probably lower that down slightly Let me just go down to say I won't go through everything, but you can see the other settings that I've got here. Most things are either off or on the lowest setting, and occasionally on medium, but you know, the game still looks great on these settings. And you know, I'm pretty happy with how it's running, but it is still a work in progress. So I'll continue to tweak this game in the Valve Index, and I have been using the Valve Index for the past couple of days. The G2, I am going to make a video on this actually, but it was just unfortunate timing, and it's all on me. I made a bit of a mistake. I had decided to sell the G2 for, you know, various reasons, and I'll make a video on that really. Nothing against the headset at all, but I decided to sell it, and it actually sold on the day that Microsoft Flight Simulator, the Sim Update 5 actually dropped. So I wanted to try to get a video out, or at least try it in the G2 before I shipped it, but I just didn't have time to do that, and it probably wasn't fair to do that now since it wasn't mine anymore anyway, so I decided against that. But really, the long story short around the G2 is that it's for reasons I've already mentioned really. A fantastic headset, especially for this game, and in some ways, you know, most ways really, Elite Dangerous as well. It's a fantastic experience there, and it's just a great all-round simmer headset really. The Valve Index just wins as an overall VR system for me in terms of like a wider variety of games that it works well with, especially with those motion controllers and stuff. So that's really why I chose it. I couldn't afford to keep both PC VR headsets, and I knew at one time one or the other was going to be going, and it had to be the G2 unfortunately. But again, nothing against that headset at all. I can perfectly understand people that are especially into Microsoft Flight Simulator absolutely love it because it looks great in that headset and performs really well as well. That's the other thing, it does perform really well in the G2 once you get your settings tweaked and dialed in. But it still looks good in the Index, don't get me wrong, this still looks fantastic. Everything looks crystal clear on these current settings, and yeah, I'm really enjoying my time in Sim Update 5. Now there are people that seem to be having a few problems with Sim Update 5. I don't know too many details about that, but some people are complaining about the image quality, and I've not noticed too much about that really while I'm flying around. Everything looks great to me, but I have noticed some aliasing in the menus, like really bad aliasing in the menus, which it doesn't really affect the game, but it is something I have noticed. So I can confirm that for people that have experienced that, but otherwise the game still looks pretty good to me. But let me know your problems if you're having any problems with Sim Update 5. To me it's a pretty good update, and I'm getting really consistent performance now. But yeah, that's it for this very quick update. I just wanted to let you know what I'm currently running, and yeah, it seems to be working pretty well for me. But thank you very much for watching this quick video, and I'll see you next time.